The night my billionaire husband announced my replacement, I smiled and signed one paper that destroyed his entire world. Everyone thought I was the poor wife begging for love. Nobody knew the woman they laughed at secretly owned the shares that kept his empire alive. When his company collapsed the next morning, the first person he called was me. 3 years ago, nobody believed Clara Moore could become Mrs. Adrian Sterling, not because Adrian Sterling was impossible to reach. Because everyone knew he hated marriage. The Miter Willia, 32-year-old CEO of Sterling International, was famous for 3 things: money, power, and his cold heart. Business magazines called him the King of Wall Street. Women called him their dream husband. Employees called him a genius, but the people closest to him knew the truth. Adrian Sterling trusted nobody, not his partners, not his friends, not even his family. So when he suddenly announced his marriage, the entire city exploded. The woman he married. Me. A girl with no famous family, no powerful background, no billionaire father. Media called it a miracle. They said I had won the biggest lottery in the world. They were wrong. Because Adrian never married me. Because he loved me. He married me because he needed a shield. 3 years ago, Sterling International was facing its biggest crisis. Enemy was attacking the company. Investors were leaving. The stock price was falling. Adrian needed a stable marriage to calm the public. His grandfather believed a married CEO looked trustworthy. So Adrian came to my apartment with a contract, not flowers. Proposal, a contract. 2 years, he said. I looked at the document. 2 years of marriage. Yes. And after that, divorce. He said it so naturally, like he was discussing a business deal. I should have refused. Any normal woman would have. But then he placed another file on the table. Inside were medical records. My younger sister's emergency surgery costs. The number was impossible. My hands froze. You investigated me. I needed to know who I was making an agreement with. I looked at him. You are really good at making people feel unimportant. His expression didn't change. I am not looking for romance, I laughed. Good. I picked up the pen, because neither am I. That was how I became Mrs. Sterling, the wife of the most powerful businessman in the country, and the loneliest woman in his mansion. Adrian gave me money could buy. A luxury house, designer clothes, private cars, a bank account with numbers I couldn't imagine. But he never gave me the one thing I wanted: attention. Every morning, he left before I woke up. Every night, he returned after midnight. At public events, he held my held hand perfectly. At home, he barely looked at me. People saw a billionaire husband protecting his wife. I saw a stranger wearing a wedding ring. I kept telling myself I didn't care. After all, this was only a contract. But feelings were strange. They appeared when people were not paying attention. Like when Adrian secretly replaced my broken laptop without telling me. Like when he remembered I hated spicy food. Like when he stood outside the hospital all night when my sister had surgery. Small things. Tiny moments. Enough to make me believe. Maybe the cold man had a warm heart hidden somewhere. I was wrong. Because the night of Sterling International's anniversary party, I discovered the truth. The entire city attended. Celebrities, investors, business leaders. Everyone wanted to see Adrian Sterling. His mysterious wife. I wore a simple black dress. Adrian looked at me for 3 seconds before saying, "You look different." I smiled. "Is that good or bad?" He looked away. I don't know. That answer hurt more than an insult. Because Adrian Sterling always knew everything. Except how to treat me. Then the doors opened. A woman walked in. And the entire room changed. Victoria Hayes. Adrian's first love. The woman everyone believed would become Mrs. Sterling. She wore a white dress. She looked perfect. She walked directly toward Adrian. Adrian. His cold dentou. Eyes softened. Only slightly. But I saw it. 3 years of marriage taught me how to read every tiny change in his expression. Victoria smiled. "I thought you forgot about old friends." Adrian answered quietly. "I don't forget." That sentence felt like a knife because I suddenly understood. Some people were never forgotten, they were only replaced. 10 minutes later, Adrian asked me to leave the party with him. I followed him upstairs. The moment the door closed, he said, "Clara, I already knew." Some conversations begin before the first word. "We need to end this." I looked at him. Because she came back. He didn't answer. That was enough. I removed my wedding ring. Slowly, carefully, then placed it on the table. Adrian stared at it. You're not going to ask why? I smiled. No. Why? Because if a man needs 3 years to decide whether he wants his wife, the answer is already clear. For the first time, Adrian looked surprised. Maybe he expected tears. Maybe he expected me to beg. I didn't. I walked away. The next morning, Adrian Sterling announced our divorce. The internet exploded. Everyone mocked me. Poor wife. Loses billionaire. Temporary Cinderella returns to reality. Adrian Sterling finally chooses his true love. Nobody cared about Clara Moore. Nobody remembered the quiet woman standing beside the richest man in the country. But at exactly 9:00 a.m., another announcement appeared. A mysterious investor acquired 46% of Sterling International voting shares. The market stopped. Analysts panicked. Because nobody knew who had enough power to challenge Adrian Sterling. Then the ownership documents were released. The investor name appeared. Clara Moore. The woman everyone thought lost everything. Owned almost half of his empire. Adrian saw the news inside his office. His assistant stood frozen. Mr. Sterling. Adrian stared at the screen. No. His voice was low. That can't be true. But it was. Years ago, when Adrian thought he was saving a helpless woman, he didn't know he married the person who saved his company. 1 hour later, I walked into Sterling Tower, the same building where I had entered countless times as Adrian's wife. Today, I entered as an owner. Receptionist almost dropped her tablet. Mrs. Sterling. I smiled. That name belongs to the past. The elevator doors opened. The entire top floor became silent. Adrian was waiting. He stood beside the window, the city behind him. The same powerful CEO. Different. For the first time, he looked uncertain. You knew. I sat down in his chair. The shares. He nodded. Yes. Why didn't you tell me? I looked at him. Why didn't you tell me you planned to divorce me? His expression changed. A tiny crack appeared. Clara, this isn't what you think. I lapsed softly. That's exactly what you said every time you hid something. I opened a file, then pushed it toward him. Your company has been losing money for 18 months. His eyes changed. Where did you get this? From your own system. Impossible. No. I looked at him. Possible. He opened the file. Inside were financial reports, secret accounts, hidden transactions, a company that looked powerful outside but was slowly bleeding inside. Adrian's face became serious. Someone has been moving money. Yes. Who? I leaned back. That's the interesting part. He looked at me. The person who did this wanted you to blame me. Silence. Because suddenly the divorce wasn't the biggest problem. The shares weren't the biggest problem. Someone had created a situation where Adrian and I would destroy each other. Before either of us could speak, every screen in the office turned black. A message appeared. Congratulations. Clara Moore. Adrian immediately stood. Who is this? A voice answered. Calm. Unknown. You finally stopped pretending to be weak. I stared at the screen. Show yourself. A photograph appeared. My wedding photo. But someone had edited it. Behind Adrian and me stood a third person. A shadow. Watching. The voice continued. 3 years ago, you married the wrong man. Adrian's face darkened. What does that mean? The screen changed. A second picture appeared. Baby. A newborn. Then a name. Not Adrian Sterling. Not Clara Moore, a different family name. Adrian froze. The voice whispered. The man you call your husband is not the real heir of Sterling. The screen went black. Nobody moved. I looked at Adrian. For the first time since I met him, he looked completely lost. Clara. I stared. What? He slowly looked at the dark screen. I think. His voice became quiet. I don't know who I am. For a long time, Adrian Sterling was silent. Too silent. The man who could destroy a company with one sentence. The man who could negotiate billion-dollar deals without changing his expression. The man who never showed weakness in front of anyone was standing in his own office, staring at a photograph like it had shattered his entire world. I watched him carefully. Adrian. He didn't answer. Look at me. Slowly. His eyes moved toward mine, and what I saw surprised me. Not anger, not arrogance. Confusion. I always thought my father built everything for me. His voice was low. I thought I was the chosen successor. He looked at the picture again. But what if my whole life was borrowed? I didn't know what to say. Because for the first time I understood something. Adrian Sterling wasn't just hiding secrets from me. Someone had hidden his entire identity from him. Before I could ask another question, the office door suddenly opened. His security team rushed in. Mr. Sterling. Adrian immediately changed. The CEO returned. What happened? The guard looked nervous. The company's servers were attacked. By who? We don't know. I looked at the black screen. The mysterious person was still ahead of us. Again, Adrian walked toward the computer. Can you trace the message? The technician started working. 10 seconds, 20 seconds, 1 minute. Then his face changed. Mr. Sterling. What? The message didn't come from outside. Adrian frowned. Then where? The technician swallowed. Inside the company. Everyone froze. Someone inside Sterling International had sent the message. Someone who had access to the highest security system. Someone close enough to watch us. Adrian looked around the room. His eyes became colder. Nobody leaves. The employees outside immediately panicked. Entire top floor became chaos. But I noticed something. Adrian wasn't looking for an enemy. He was looking for a person he trusted. That was the dangerous part. Because betrayal only hurts when it comes from someone close. A few minutes later, the security team found the source. The message was sent from the CEO's private archive. Adrian's private archive. A place only 3 people could access. Adrian, his father, and Victoria Hayes. The room became quiet. I looked at Adrian. He didn't move. But his d'exprière. Because Victoria was involved. Because he had believed she wouldn't be. The elevator doors opened. And Victoria walked in. Perfect, calm, beautiful. Like she didn't know the entire company was watching her. She looked at Adrian. Then at me. Looks like you finally found out. Adrian stared at her. How long? Victoria smiled. How long what? How long have you known? Her smile disappeared slightly. A small reaction, but enough. I knew before you married her. The room exploded. Adrian stepped closer. You knew. Victoria looked at me. Everyone thought. Clara was lucky. She laughed softly. They had no idea she was the dangerous one. I crossed my arms. Interesting. Victoria looked at me. What? Usually people who lose pretend they were victims. Her eyes narrowed. You think you won? I smiled. No. I looked at the documents on the table. I think someone is using all of us. For a moment, Victoria didn't speak. And that silence told me something. She wasn't the mastermind. She was only another piece. Adrian noticed too. Who are you working for? Victoria looked away. I can't tell you. Can't. Because if I tell you, you won't survive the night. The room became colder. A threat. A warning. Or maybe both. Adrian grabbed the documents. Start talking. Victoria laughed. You still think power solves everything? She looked at him. That's why you were chosen. I frowned. Chosen. For what? Victoria walked toward the screen. She touched the old photograph. The Sterling family was never just a business family. The screen behind her suddenly turned on. A hidden file appeared, a family tree. But the names were not normal. They were connected by lines. Influence. Companies. Organizations. Power. Victoria pointed at the center. There is a group controlling the biggest financial decisions in the world. Adrian stared. What is this? The circle. Nobody spoke. Victoria continued. Your father was one of them. I looked at her. And, my family. She smiled. Your family created them. My expression changed. The Carter family. Again, every secret returned to my name. Victoria continued. Years ago, the Carter family discovered the circle was becoming too powerful. So they tried to destroy it? No. Her voice became quiet. They tried to leave. I frowned. Why? Because once you join the circle, there is only one way out. Silence. What way? Victoria looked at me. Death. The room became still. Then Adrian asked, why are you telling us this? Victoria looked at him. Because they are coming. Who? She didn't answer. Instead, she walked to the window. Outside, dozens of black cars stopped in front of Sterling Tower. No police, no reporters. Just silent vehicles. Adrian immediately recognized something. His face changed. The Black Order. I looked at him. You know them. He shook his head slowly. No, a pause. But my body remembers. That sentence was terrifying. Because it meant something inside him knew. Something his mind had forgotten. The elevator downstairs opened. People entered the building. Kind of confidence people had when they already believed. They owned the outcome. Victoria whispered, "They are here for Clara." Adrian stepped in front of me. No. I looked at him. 3 years. 3 years of distance. 3 years of pretending not to care. But now he was standing between me and danger without hesitation. The old Adrian would have calculated. The old Adrian would have protected the company first. This Adrian protected me first. The office doors opened. A man walked in. Older. Gray hair. Expensive suit. A familiar smile. Adrian froze. Because the man was holding an old photo. The same childhood photo. The one with young Adrian. And young Clara. The man looked at us. Finally. His smile widened. The two heirs are together. I stared at him. Who are you? He looked at Adrian, then me. My name is Richard. Adrio. Sterling. Adrian's face turned pale. Impossible. The man smiled. I was your grandfather's brother. Adrian stepped back. You died 20 years ago. Richard laughed. Everyone in this family dies when it is convenient. My fingers tightened. Another fake death. Another hidden person. Another secret. Richard placed the photograph on the table. Clara Moore. I looked at him. Yes. He smiled. That name was never yours. The room froze. What? He pushed another document forward. My birth certificate. But the name written on it was different. Not Clara Moore. A name I had never seen before. Clara Carter Sterling. I couldn't breathe. Richard continued. You were never just the Carter heir. He looked at Adrian. You were born to become his wife. Adrian's expression changed. No. Richard smiled. Your marriage was planned before either of you were old enough to understand love. I stared at the document. My entire life. My marriage. My identity. Everything. A plan. But before I could react, Richard's phone rang. He answered. His face changed. For the first time he looked afraid. What do you mean? A pause. Then he looked at me. The third heir has awakened. Everyone froze. Adrian frowned. Third heir. Richard slowly lowered the phone. Yes. He looked toward the door. And she is already here. The light suddenly went out. A woman's voice came from the darkness. Hello, Clara. My body froze. Because I knew that voice. It was my own voice. A recording of me. From 10 years ago. Then the lights returned. Standing at the entrance was a woman. She looked exactly like me. Same face. Same eyes. Same smile. And she said one sentence. That destroyed everything I believed. I am the real Clara Carter. The room became completely silent. Nobody moved. Nobody even breathed normally. Because the woman standing at the door was looking at me with my own face. Same eyes, same voice, same smile. But somehow I knew immediately. She was not me. I don't know how. Because nobody in the world understood my own expression better than I did. And the woman in front of me was pretending. She looked like me, but she didn't feel like me. Adrian stepped closer. His body moved before his mind could stop him. Who are you? The woman smiled. I already told you. Her eyes moved to me. I am the real Clara Carter. My hands slowly tightened. Then who am I? Nobody answered. That was the worst part. Everyone in the room seemed to know something except me. Again. I laughed. A cold laugh. Interesting. The woman looked at me. What? I spent my entire life being told I was special. I pointed around the room. Turns out everyone was just waiting for the right moment to tell me I wasn't even myself. Adrian looked at me. Clara. I raised my hand. Not now. Because if I stopped, I knew I would break. And I refused to break in front of people who had spent years controlling my life. Richard Sterling watched us silently. Finally, he spoke. This is exactly why we needed both of you. I turned toward him. Both of us? He nodded. The real Clara Carter and the hidden Clara Carter. I frowned. Hidden. The woman at the tie door walked inside. Yes. She looked at me. You were hidden from the world. I stared. Why? Her expression changed. For the first time, she looked almost guilty. Because I asked them to. That sentence shocked everyone. Adrian looked at her. You asked them. She nodded. When I was young, I discovered what the Circle was planning. The Circle? The organization controlling the financial world. She looked at me. They wanted the Carter inheritance. I crossed my arms. And they wanted me dead. She nodded. But then we found out something. What? You were the only person they couldn't control. I laughed. That makes no sense. It does. She walked closer. Because your grandfather didn't leave you money. I looked at her. He left me shares. No. She shook her head. He left you freedom. The words confused me. Before I could ask, Adrian's phone suddenly rang. He answered. His expression immediately changed. What happened? His assistant's voice came through. Mr. Sterling, someone just released confidential files about Sterling International. What files? A pause. The original ownership documents. Everyone froze. Adrian looked at me. Original? The assistant continued. Yes. The documents show that Sterling International does not belong to the Sterling family. Adrian's face became cold. Then who owns it? The answer came. The Carter family. Smiled. Now you understand. But I didn't. Because if the company belonged to my family, why had Adrian been CEO for years? Why had everyone believed he owned everything? Richard answered. Because ownership was divided. He walked toward the table. 20 years ago, your grandfather and Adrian's father created an agreement. He placed two files down. One person controlled the public empire. One person protected the hidden inheritance. I looked at Adrian. And we were the two people. Richard nodded. Yes. Adrian laughed, bitterly. So my entire life was managing something that was never mine. Nobody answered, because it was true. For the first time, I understood Adrian. Not as my husband. Not as a billionaire. As a person. He had spent his entire life building a kingdom. Only to discover he was just protecting someone else's throne. I walked closer. Adrian. He looked at me. You okay? A strange expression appeared on his face. You are asking me? Yes. He smiled slightly. After everything. I looked at him. After everything. For a moment the cold CEO disappeared. Only a tired man remained. Then the building shook. A huge explosion came from outside. Everyone immediately reacted. Security alarms screamed. Richard looked toward the window. They found us. Adrian's expression changed. Who? Richard didn't answer. 'Cause the answer appeared on every screen. Symbol. The black crown. The same symbol from the hidden files. Then a message. Return the heir. Another message appeared. Or lose the empire. The woman beside me looked terrified. Not pretending. Actually terrified. I noticed you know who they are. She looked at me. Yes. Who? Her. Lips moved. But before she could answer, the lights went out. Again. This time, there was no warning. Only darkness. Then footsteps. Slow. Calm. Coming closer. Someone was inside the room. But someone was there. A voice spoke. 20 years. Everyone froze. The voice was old, cold, powerful. 20 years of hiding. The emergency lights turned on. A man stood near the window. Nobody recognized him. Except my mother. She stepped back. No. The man's eyes moved toward her. Hello, Elena. My mother's face lost all color. Adrian noticed. Who is he? She whispered. The person who started everything. The man smiled. Not everything. He looked at me. Only your story. I stared at him. Who are you? He smiled. My name is Nathan Vale. Adrian immediately stepped forward. Vale. The man looked at him. Yes. A pause. Your real father. The room exploded with shock. Again, another father, another secret. Another impossible truth. Adrian stared. No, Nathan smiled. You have said that many times. I saw my father die. No, Nathan walked closer. You saw a body. The words hit Adrian. Because they were different. A fake death. Again. Nathan looked at me. Your family and mine spent years fighting. Why? Because they were afraid. Of what? He smiled. Of you, I frowned. Me? Nathan nodded. You were born with something nobody else had. I was tired of hearing mysterious statements. Everyone keeps saying that. I stepped closer. Nobody explains anything. Nathan looked amused. Good. What? Your anger means your memories are returning. My body froze. What memories? Nathan looked at Adrian. Tell her. Adrian frowned. Tell her what? Nathan smiled. The night you met. The room became quiet. Adrian looked confused. I was 8. Yes. You don't remember. Nathan nodded. Because someone erased it. I looked at Adrian. Erased. Nathan continued. When Clara was 6 and Adrian was 8, they discovered the circle's biggest secret. What secret? Nathan's expression became serious. The person controlling the circle was not outside your families. A cold feeling spread through me. Then who? Nathan looked around the room. At Richard. At the woman who claimed to be the real Clara. At my mother. Then finally. At me, the person closest to you. Nobody spoke, because everyone started suspecting everyone. That was exactly what they wanted. Fear. Doubt. Chaos. Nathan continued. The enemy didn't destroy your families. He looked at Adrian. They separated them. Then he looked at me. They separated you two. Adrian stepped closer. Why? Because together you were unstoppable. The room became silent. My heart beat faster. Not because I believed him, because some part of me remembered. A small fragment. A boy saying, "Don't be scared." A boy promising, "I will find you again." I looked at Adrian. He suddenly touched his head. His face changed. A memory hit him. I remember. Everyone looked at him. Adrian's voice shook. The garden. I froze. Because I remembered too. A garden. Promise. Adrian looked at me. You were crying. My eyes widened. You gave me your toy. He nodded. You said you hated rich people. Because they always took things away. A tear almost escaped my eyes. Because I remembered. Not everything. Only pieces. But enough. You said. My voice became quiet. You said you would protect me. Adrian stared. I did. The room became silent. The woman claiming to be the real Clara looked shocked. Because even she didn't expect that memory. Then Nathan smiled. Now, you understand. But before anyone could say anything, entire building security system activated. A red warning appeared. Emergency takeover initiated. Richard looked at the screen. His expression changed. No. What? He stared. The circle has activated the final control protocol. Add me. Not final. A pause. The beginning. The screen changed. A countdown appeared. 72 hours. Below it was one sentence. When the timer ends, the world will learn who the real heir is. Adrian looked at me. What happens after? Nobody answered. Phi. Then Nathan said. The person who loses. Bye. The trial loses everything. I stared at the countdown. 72 hours. A fake identity. A hidden sister. 2 families. A secret organization. And a husband who might have been connected to me since childhood. The old me would have been afraid. But that woman was gone. I looked at Anne. Adrian. We find the person behind this. He looked surprised. Together, I nodded. Together. For the first time, Adrian smiled. Not the fake smile he used for business. A real one. But somewhere far away, inside a dark room, someone watched the live feed. The person behind the black crown, the person who had controlled every move. They saw Adrian and Clara standing together, and instead of anger, they smiled. Perfect. A voice answered. Should we stop them? The mysterious person shook their head. No. They finally. Let them discover the last secret. The screen showed an old photo. A photo from 20 years ago. 4 children standing together. 2 of them were Adrian and Clara. The third was the woman who claimed to be the real Clara. And the fourth was the person watching. The final Name appeared. Not Carter. Not Sterling. Not Vale. A name nobody expected. Moore. Because the biggest secret was not who Clara Carter was. It was who had been pretending to be her family all along. The name Moore stayed on the screen. Nobody spoke. The state understood the same thing. The name that looked the most ordinary was probably the most dangerous one. I slowly turned toward Richard. Moore. His expression changed, only slightly. But I saw it. After everything that happened, I had learned one thing. People could control their faces, they could control their voices, but they couldn't control the first second after hearing something unexpected. Richard knew that name. Adrian noticed too. You know something. Richard looked away. I know many things. I stepped closer. That's not an answer. Old Richard sighed. You are exactly like your grandfather. I smiled coldly. Everyone says that when they don't want to answer. Before Richard could reply, Nathan Vale suddenly laughed. A quiet laugh. Everyone looked at him. What is funny? Survived this long is because you never trusted anyone completely. I frowned. And you think that's a compliment? It is. He looked around the room. Every person here has a role. He pointed at Adrian, the abandoned heir. Then at the woman who looked like me. The false successor. Then at my mother. The hidden protector. Then at Richard. The betrayer. Everyone's expression changed. Richard's eyes became cold. Careful, Nathan. Nathan smiled. Why? Because you were the first person to betray this family. The atmosphere changed instantly, between them. Enough. His voice was sharp. Everyone stopped. I looked at him. The old Adrian would have tried to control the room. This Adrian was different. He wasn't trying to dominate. He was trying to understand. Father. Then Richard. My grandfather's brother. Then my mother. My own family. His eyes became darker. But nobody tells us the truth. He looked at me. Especially about her. Everyone became quiet. Because Adrian was right. The woman standing beside us looked exactly like me. But nobody had explained who she really was. She finally spoke. My name is not Clara. I looked at her. She took a deep breath. My name is Amelia Moore. The room froze. Moore. Again, she continued. I was raised to become the replacement. Replacement for who? She looked at me. For you. The Splavinen. Answer was simple. Too simple. And somehow that made it worse. I stared at her. So my entire life, someone created a fake version of me. Amelia looked down. Yes. Why? She was silent. Then she whispered. Because they needed a person who could disappear. A cold feeling moved through my body. What does that mean? Amelia looked at Nathan. You know, Nathan didn't answer. That was enough. I turned toward him. Tell me. Nathan looked at me. When the Circle discovered your grandfather's plan, they knew they couldn't take the inheritance by force. The Carter inheritance was protected by blood. I frowned. Then why create Amelia? Because they needed confusion. He walked toward the screen. When people don't know who the real person is, they fight each other. The screen changed. Old records appeared, medical reports. Then I saw something that made my entire body freeze. My childhood medical record. But the name was different. Not Clara Carter. Not Clara Moore. A third name. I stepped closer. What is this? Nathan looked at me. The identity you were born with. I stared at the paper. The name meant nothing. But the date. The hospital. Everything matched. My birth. My childhood. My life. Except one thing. My parents. The names listed were not my parents. I couldn't breathe. My parents. My voice shook. Nathan nodded. We're not your biological parents. Silence. A normal person might have cried. A normal person might have collapsed. But I didn't. Because my life had become too strange for shock. Every answer created another question. I looked at my mother. She couldn't meet my eyes. You knew. Knew I wasn't yours. Yes. And you still raised me. Her voice broke. Because I loved you. That sentence hurt more than any lie. Because it sounded real, and I hated that. I hated that after 10 years of anger. A part of me still wanted to believe her. Adrian stepped beside me. Not touching me, just standing there. A quiet support. I noticed. And somehow, that helped. Then the building shook again. This time harder. The lights flickered. Security alarms started screaming. Richard immediately checked his phone. His face changed. Everyone. The circle has entered the building, Nathan frowned. They shouldn't have access. Richard looked at him. They do now. Adrian immediately moved. How many? Richard hesitated. Too many. I looked toward the elevator. The numbers started moving. Down, up, down, up. Like someone was playing with the system. Then every elevator stopped on our floor. The doors opened at the same time. People walked out. Not security, not employees. A group of people wearing black suits. No weapons visible. No panic. Just confidence. The leader walked forward. Woman. Elegant. Middle-aged. She looked at me and smiled. Clara. My eyes narrowed. Another person who knows my name. She laughed. Of course. She looked at Adrian. Your marriage finally worked. Adrian stepped forward. Who are you? The woman ignored him. Evelyn Moore. The room became silent. Amelia stepped back. No. I looked at her. You know her? Amelia's face turned pale. She is. Evelyn smiled. The person who created her. I stared. What? Evelyn walked closer. Amelia was never meant to replace you. She looked at Amelia. She was meant to protect you. Amelia looked shocked. You lied to me. Evelyn smiled. Everyone lies. Then she looked at me. But some lies save lives. I laughed. You expect me to believe that? No. She looked toward Adrian. I expect him to. Adrian frowned. Why? Evelyn. You, the same thing. Adrian froze. What? Evelyn pulled out an old recording device. She pressed a button. A familiar voice appeared. Adrian's father. Adrian. Everyone became silent. The recording continued. If you are hearing this, it means they found Clara. Expression changed. His father continued. You must protect her. A pause. But do not trust her. My heart stopped. The recording continued. Because the person closest to Clara. Static. The voice became unclear. Then one final sentence. He's the person who destroyed everything. A bash. The recording ended. Nobody moved. I looked at Adrian. He looked at me. Because the message was obvious. Someone close to me was the enemy. But who? My mother? Amelia? Richard? Nathan? Or Adrian himself? Evelyn smiled. Now you understand why this game is interesting. Adrian's eyes became cold. You brought this recording. Yes. Why? Because the next trial requires a choice. The screen behind her activated. A new countdown appeared. 48 hours. Then two options. Protect Clara. This meant Adrian's company. Or me. Evelyn looked at him. The world wants to know, are you still the CEO, or are you finally the man you were supposed to become? Adrian stared at the screen, then at me. I knew this was the moment they wanted. They wanted him to choose. They wanted me to doubt him. They wanted us separated. But they made one mistake. They underestimated how much betrayal could change people. I walked to the screen. Pressed the button. The entire room froze. What are you doing? I looked at Evelyn. You created a test. I smiled. Answer. The screen changed. The choice disappeared. Because I had overridden the system. Nobody expected it. Not Evelyn. Not Nathan. Not Richard. Not even Adrian. I turned around. The problem with your plan. I looked at everyone. Is that you keep thinking we are your pieces? Pause. We are not. Adrian looked at me, and for the first time I saw pride in his eyes. Not because I saved him. Because he realized something. The woman everyone wanted to control. But then the system restarted. A new message appeared. Unexpected action detected. Activating hidden trial. The screen showed one more line. The person who changed the game will reveal the truth. Everyone looked around, then a name appeared. The name nobody expected. Adrian Sterling.